So, Sonia, firstly, as we were joking earlier, the CFA Institute, I remember my brother taking the exams about 25 years ago and finding it the hardest thing that he'd ever done.
It is the hardest exam.
And tell us, you have just introduced a new climate certificate. Could you tell us a little bit about where that came from, why, and what its purpose is?
Okay, so we've known for our CFA curriculum all these years, CFA Charter. Over the last few years, we realized that practitioners need to upskill themselves. The world is changing so fast. And there was a lot of demand for upskilling in sustainability space. So we have two offerings in this space. One is the Sustainable Investing Certificate, which covers environmental, social governance factor. It's a foundational certificate. And then we started seeing, climate is having a moment. We are seeing the increased intensity and frequency of wildfires, floods, tornadoes. And practitioners were asking us, they were saying we need to integrate climate risk and opportunities in our investment decision making. So that's how we conceived the certificate, we launched it, and we are seeing some really good response over there. The practitioners also said, we want to build skills in this space. So we did something different with this. With this certificate, we are trying to help them to build job-ready skills. So for example, something like, they said, companies have these glossy-looking transition plans. There are so many graphs and charts and data, and we pick it up and we don't know what to do with it. We don't understand. So we did something with this certificate. We introduced praxis assessments. So praxis means practice as distinguished from theory. So traditional curriculum tells you that, you define your curriculum, you have your learning outcome statements, and then you write content around it, and then you create assessments. A backward design model means you first decide what skills you want your learners to acquire, you build assessments around it, and then you write content and other activities around it. So we decided our practitioners want to learn how to be able to analyze a transition plan. So that's the skill. Then we created assessment around it. We gave them real-world transition plans of 3 real-world companies. We took permission from those companies and we gave those. And we said, now you apply what you've learned. You try to analyze them. Look for things like how temperature and net zero targets are being set. How are you measuring progress, the KPIs? Is there transparency around use of voluntary carbon credits and stuff like that? And then they analyze the transition plans, and then they get to grade the work of two other candidates. We provide them a solid rubric. So you see what we are doing here. We are building skills, and through this repetition, they are getting the confidence. So the idea is when they go back to their day job, they can pick up a transition plan, and they know exactly what they're looking for, what they should be doing.
Have you found it, because the CFA, obviously, its origins was much more on the knowledge side than the skills side, and such technical knowledge. Have you had to adapt the way both that you prepare students and assess them for skills-based assessments?
No, that's the right question to ask at this stage.
I mean, as an educator, asking for a friend.
So employers are increasingly coming to us. Increasingly, they are asking for desk-ready candidates, job-ready candidates. So now practical skills learning is becoming a core component of not only the CFA curriculum, but what I said are other offerings in the climate certificate as well. So we introduced something called practical skill modules. So let me set some context. Many of you in the room would have seen that article by OpenAI. They have this project codenamed Project Mercury, where they have hired ex-investment bankers and students from Harvard and MIT to train their AI to build financial models. The idea is that you take away hours and hours of drudgery from a junior investment banker's, a junior analyst's work day. Now, many of us in the room, including myself, I started my career, I spent many years building financial models.
Yeah.
So now when I have to work with an AI-generated financial model, I know what I'm looking for. I know how to vet, to validate what the model is telling me. But imagine these young investment professionals, they don't get an opportunity to do that on the job. So we introduced a practical skills module in financial modeling. So candidates are preparing a best-in-class three-statement financial model, incorporating business knowledge, design best practices, technical expertise. And the idea is now when they go on their day job, when they have to work with the AI-generated financial model, they know the right questions to ask.
So is it they actually do need to build the skills, even though the AI-generated model can do it, so that they can think critically about what the AI is producing.
Yeah, and to be able to validate what AI model has done. And to your question about assessments, not many people working outside education realize that testing for application-based skills is really tough. So the complexity of our assessments is increasing as well. So from multiple choice and item set questions or essay type, we are moving to project submission, case studies, live simulations. And our vocabulary internally is changing as well. So all these years at CFA Institute, we said candidate body of knowledge, CBOK.
Yes.
And now we've tweaked it. We call it candidate body of skills and knowledge, CBSK. Just that slight tweak, all of us now internally just think about how can we incorporate more skills in this offering? You tweak the vocabulary a bit and your mindset changes.
Yeah. I'm just going to pause 1 second. There is a QR code there. Please submit your questions, because I'd love to hear your questions and put them to Sonia. Before I take questions from the audience, Sonia, we've talked a bit about practical skills, but there's also huge ethical considerations when you mix climate and AI and the future. How are you thinking about those ethical considerations, and how are you equipping your candidates to be able to approach investing with the right ethics?
So we frequently do these snap polls internally. We'll talk to members in other teams in the CFA Institute, asking them what's top of their mind, how are they thinking about things. And the other day when we posed this question, the investor of the future, what is that one skill which will differentiate a successful investor of the future from a not so successful one? The overwhelming response we got was a deep appreciation of ethical issues with the usage of AI. Okay? And it was not surprising to me. So let's take a step back. It's agreed that we should be using AI in our investment decision-making process, but we should use it with appropriate guardrails. So at the Institute, we have this set of fundamental ethical principles. You can think of them as best practices in the investment industry, and they guide the conduct of our charter holder members worldwide. So one of the ethical principles is that practitioners must exercise diligence and have a reasonable basis for their investment analysis, recommendation, and action. Now, if you're using AI in the investment decision-making process, it immediately creates issues of data accuracy, model integrity, transparency, explainability, interpretability. How do you know the data that AI has been trained or does not contain any material non-public information? How are you protecting your client information? Are you able to explain to your client how AI has been used in the investment process? Are you able to explain those inferences?
Yeah.
How are you thinking about potential conflicts of interest? How are you thinking about potential adverse client outcomes? So the point is you need to be asking multiple questions at every step of the way. And you have to have enhanced governance, oversight, validation, and ethical guardrails. And ultimately, it's you, the human, who's responsible for the work that... So just to relate an anecdote to you, the other day I was at a sustainability conference, and the focus was on disclosure and regulations. And there was somebody from the regulator, FCA, present over there. And somebody in the audience said to the regulator that AI is a boon for disclosure requirements, and we are increasingly using a lot of AI to fulfill our disclosure requirements. But we do realize that it can hallucinate, errors can creep in. So how much leeway do you think we have in these things? And the response was unequivocal. The buck stops with you. If you are submitting that, you got to be able to validate it. You got to be able to verify it.
Yeah, you are responsible.
Yes. And I would be remiss if I don't bring into conversation right now the very open discussion that's going on in the US regarding AI models, OpenAI, Anthropic, US Defense Department, all the ethical issues that are arising out of there. And believe me, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because we should be ready for an avalanche of such ethical dilemmas arising. So I feel ethical considerations and a deep appreciation of ethics could be the differentiating factor going forward. And
so it's actually, being more human is going to be the differentiating factor. To take one question from, thank you so much for submitting them. Perhaps we take the second one there. How do you look at skill development in the context of regulatory changes, particularly in Europe?
How do we, sorry?
How do you look at skill development in the context of regulatory changes, particularly in Europe?
So we get our signals from practitioners who we are talking to regularly, what skills they need, from employers, which skills they want their colleagues, their employees to upskill on, and regulators. They act as a very strong signaling mechanism for us. And so in our certificates, in our courses, we try and introduce as much of, now that we are moving from voluntary regulatory disclosures to mandatory ones, those are becoming an integral part of our certificates as well. And then we are updating them regularly. Things are changing at such a fast pace. Of course, sometimes it's very difficult to. So how we think about our content is now evergreen content, and this regulatory kind of content which is changing very fast. And that's what we keep updating faster than maybe the other content, which gets so. That's how we are trying to keep pace with what's happening in regulation.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a fantastic job. I'm very excited about this new climate certificate, and to have an organisation with the prestige of the CFA Institute to be setting the bar so high for the level of expertise that is required in order to tackle these issues in the most sophisticated way. So thank you so much, Sonia. Please join me in a round of applause, and I invite up Ariel Schleien.
Yeah.